Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the daily drama, shocking twists, and unforgettable moments of your favorite daytime soap. Today is a brilliant day to unpack some of the most intense, heart-stopping developments we have seen in quite some time. Grab a comfortable seat, and let us explore the explosive events unfolding right now. The suffocating atmosphere of the Las Vegas underground is rapidly reaching a boiling point as allegiances shift and desperate survival instincts take control. Reza Thompson finds herself standing at the ultimate crossroads of her incredibly complicated life, torn between the dangerous reality of her current alliance and the seductive promise of a completely different future. For far too long, Reza has been a pawn in the twisted, violent games orchestrated by men who view her as nothing more than a convenient tool for their own dark ambitions. Her association with Matt Clark has always been fraught with a chilling underlying terror, a constant reminder of the sheer sociopathic depths to which he is willing to sink. Yet, the lingering sting of Adam Newman's previous manipulations still burns brightly in her mind, creating a chaotic storm of conflicting emotions. Reza is a woman who craves power, stability, and control over her own destiny, and she is acutely aware that remaining loyal to a volatile psychopath like Matt Clark is a guaranteed death sentence. The time for blind loyalty has passed, replaced by cold, calculating need for self-preservation and monumental financial gain. In the dimly lit, oppressive confines of their captivity, Adam and Nick Newman recognize the fragile state of Reza's loyalty and launch a desperate, psychologically masterful campaign to turn her against her current benefactor. Despite the immense physical and emotional toll of their situation, the Newman brothers tap into their inherent family trait of ruthless negotiation. Adam, utilizing every ounce of his dark charisma and deep understanding of human vulnerability, begins to weave a compelling narrative for Reza. He paints a vivid picture of a life free from Matt Clark's terrifying shadow, promising her not just safety, but a substantial financial windfall that would allow her to completely reinvent herself. Adam meticulously dismantles Matt's facade of control, exposing him as a ticking time bomb who will inevitably destroy anyone caught in his blast radius. Nick, entirely consumed by an agonizing, visceral terror for his family, adds a raw, emotional weight to the negotiation. He pleads with Reza not just as a wealthy Newman offering a blank check, but as a desperate father and former husband whose entire world is currently hanging by a thread. The combination of Adam's calculated promises of a lucrative fresh start and Nick's raw, unfiltered desperation creates an overwhelming pressure that begins to crack Reza's hardened exterior. The turning point arrives when Reza, weighing the catastrophic risks of staying loyal to Matt against the immense rewards of betraying him, finally makes her decision. She demands absolute assurance of her protection and a price tag that reflects the monumental danger she is about to invite upon herself. Once the Newman brothers fiercely agree to her extravagant terms, promising the full, unyielding weight of the Newman empire to shield her from any fallout, Reza shatters the terrifying silence with a revelation that chills Nick to his very core. She carefully details the horrific scope of Matt Clark's current master plan, exposing a level of sadistic cruelty that surpasses even their darkest nightmares. Reza reveals that Matt has not simply been holding them captive for his own amusement. He has been actively orchestrating a catastrophic trap designed to psychologically annihilate Nick. She confesses that Matt has successfully utilized Nick's stolen cell phone to send a series of deceptive, urgent messages, effectively luring Sharon Newman and their son Noah into a desolate, highly dangerous location on the outskirts of Las Vegas. The sheer horror of Reza's confession strikes Nick with the force of a physical blow, instantly plunging him into a state of absolute, unmitigated panic. The realization that his beloved Sharon and Noah are blindly walking into a lethal snare, falsely believing they are rushing to his aid, shatters whatever remaining composure Nick has managed to maintain. His mind, already severely compromised by the heavy, toxic influence of the prescription painkillers he has been secretly consuming, spirals into a dark, chaotic frenzy. The stolen pills, a massive stash he had hidden away to numb his escalating physical and emotional agony, now become the dangerous fuel propelling his every erratic action. Nick's protective instincts, usually a source of immense strength, are twisted by the narcotics into a blinding, reckless mania. He is no longer capable of rational thought or strategic planning. He is entirely consumed by a primitive, overwhelming need to reach his family before Matt can execute his final, devastating move. Fueled by this drug-induced adrenaline and raw, terrifying desperation, Nick manages to secure his freedom and aggressively takes control of the situation, forcefully inserting himself behind the wheel of a vehicle. What follows is a harrowing, high-speed nightmare across the unforgiving Nevada desert landscape. Nick drives with a terrifying, suicidal intensity, his foot firmly planted on the accelerator, pushing the vehicle to its absolute mechanical limits. His vision is narrowed into a hyper-focused, dangerous tunnel, entirely fixated on the desolate stretch of highway leading to the abandoned gas station Reza had identified. The physical manifestations of his severe intoxication are undeniable. His movements are jagged and unpredictable, his breathing is shallow and rapid, and his eyes hold a wild, unfocused glare that speaks to the chaotic storm raging within his chemically altered brain. He is operating under a false, dangerous delusion of invincibility, convinced that sheer willpower and reckless speed will somehow be enough to conquer the monumental threat posed by Matt Clark. Trapped in the passenger seat of this speeding metal death trap, Adam Newman experiences a profound, suffocating sense of terror that he rarely allows himself to feel. Adam is entirely stripped of his usual control, forced into the agonizing role of a helpless observer as his brother flirts with catastrophic disaster. He accurately deduces the severe extent of Nick's drug intoxication, recognizing the telltale signs of a man completely unmoored from reality. Adam frantically attempts to intervene, his voice echoing with desperate, urgent warnings as he pleads with Nick to slow down, to think clearly, to allow them to formulate a rational plan of attack. However, his desperate pleas are entirely swallowed by the roaring engine and Nick's impenetrable wall of drug-fueled panic. Adam is acutely aware that Nick's current state is not only jeopardizing their chances of successfully rescuing Sharon and Noah, but actively threatening to end both of their lives in a horrific, mangled wreck on the side of the desert highway. The tragic irony of the situation is not lost on Adam. He, the brother historically known for his darkness and reckless behavior, is now the sole voice of reason, desperately trying to save the golden child of the Newman family from his own destructive addiction. As the vehicle tears through the desolate landscape, the destination looming ahead represents the ultimate culmination of decades of bitter, unresolved trauma. The abandoned gas station on the outskirts of Las Vegas is a haunting, dilapidated structure, perfectly suited for the horrific climax Matt Clark has meticulously designed. It is a place forgotten by time, shrouded in shadows and echoing with the silent anticipation of impending doom. Matt has chosen this specific, isolated location not just for its tactical advantages, but for the profound psychological terror it will inflict upon his victims. He is a man entirely consumed by a pathological need for vengeance, his mind a dark labyrinth of sadistic desires and historical grievances against the Newman family. Matt's history of inflicting severe abuse upon Sharon and Nick is a dark stain on their past, and he is now determined to write the final, bloody chapter of their intertwined story. He revels in the absolute control he currently possesses, deeply intoxicated by the knowledge that he has successfully manipulated the entire Newman clan into dancing to his twisted tune. At this desolate location, Sharon and Noah Newman arrive, their hearts pounding with a mixture of protective anxiety and false hope. They have followed the deceptive digital breadcrumbs left by Matt, entirely convinced that they are about to rendezvous with Nick and finally put an end to the nightmare. Their profound loyalty and deep love for Nick have been cruelly weaponized against them, blinding them to the glaring inconsistencies and the overwhelming danger of their surroundings. They step out into the oppressive desert heat, their eyes scanning the dilapidated structure for any sign of Nick, completely unaware that they are stepping directly into the jaws of a monster. Matt Clark is waiting in the suffocating shadows, his anticipation reaching a fever pitch as he watches his ultimate leverage walk willingly into his trap. He is not simply planning a confrontation, he is preparing for a grand, theatrical display of destruction. The gathering clues and the terrifying atmosphere suggest that Matt is orchestrating a horrific magic trick of sorts, a lethal spectacle that will likely involve a massive explosion. He intends to create a catastrophic event, a fiery inferno that will serve as the ultimate punishment for the Newman family. A visual representation of the destruction they have allegedly caused in his own life. The tension at the abandoned gas station is a tangible, suffocating force, a ticking clock counting down to absolute tragedy. Every passing second brings Nick and Adam closer in their reckless, speeding vehicle, while simultaneously allowing Matt to finalize the deadly mechanics of his explosive trap. The sheer vulnerability of Sharon and Noah, standing entirely exposed in the quiet desolation, creates an agonizing sense of dread. Matt's sadistic patience is wearing thin, his finger hovering over the proverbial trigger, eager to unleash the devastation he has spent so long planning. He desires nothing more than for Nick to arrive just in time to witness the fiery demise of the people he loves most. A psychological torture far more agonizing than any physical pain he could inflict. The desert setting, vast and indifferent, serves as the perfect, terrifying backdrop for this monumental clash of wills. A place where screams will be swallowed by the wind and where the Newman family faces the very real possibility of complete, irreversible annihilation. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away from the physical danger and scorching heat of the Nevada desert, a completely different, yet equally devastating form of warfare is reaching its catastrophic climax in the cold, sterile corporate towers of Genoa City. The transition from the visceral, life-or-death struggle in Las Vegas to the calculated, bloodless execution of corporate destruction is jarring, highlighting the multifaceted nature of the battles currently raging within these intertwined lives. Victor Newman, the undisputed, ruthless patriarch of the Newman Empire, has meticulously orchestrated a masterclass in corporate annihilation, systematically dismantling the professional life of his longtime rival, Phyllis Summers. Victor operates with a chilling, detached precision, viewing the destruction of the Summers conglomerate not as a passionate vendetta, but as a necessary, inevitable correction of the business landscape. He has utilized his vast, seemingly limitless financial resources to execute a flawless, multi-pronged attack, entirely paralyzing Phyllis's ability to function or fight back. The first phase of Victor's devastating assault has already been executed with ruthless efficiency. By aggressively buying out the loyalty and contracts of Phyllis's entire remaining staff, he has effectively hollowed out her company from the inside. The mass exodus of her employees was a staggering, humiliating blow, leaving Phyllis standing alone in an empty corporate shell. Furthermore, Victor's unparalleled influence and monopolization of the executive talent pool have ensured that any attempt Phyllis makes to hire replacements is instantly blocked, suffocating her business operations and leaving her entirely isolated. However, the true, terrifying brilliance of Victor's strategy lies not in the financial starvation of her company, but in the lethal, technological trap he has prepared to spring. Victor has acquired and deployed a highly sophisticated, cutting-edge artificial intelligence program designed specifically to manufacture damning, irrefutable evidence of criminal activity against Phyllis. This AI technology has been tasked with fabricating highly realistic, incriminating digital footprints, specifically utilizing past shady conversations between Billy Abbott and Kane Ashby from the era when Phyllis held control over Chancellor. This AI-generated evidence is the ultimate, inescapable cornerstone of Victor's trap. It is a weapon against which Phyllis has absolutely no defense, a digital fabrication so flawless that it will easily convince any federal prosecutor of her profound guilt. Victor's intention is not simply to bankrupt Phyllis. He intends to completely obliterate her freedom and her future. When the moment of confrontation finally arrives, Victor corners Phyllis with the terrifying, suffocating reality of her situation. He presents her with a stark, horrifying ultimatum, an offer she is entirely incapable of refusing. Victor demands the immediate, unconditional surrender of the Summers conglomerate, forcing her to sign over her entire empire directly into his waiting hands. The alternative, he coldly explains, is the immediate release of the AI-generated criminal evidence to the authorities, a move that guarantees Phyllis will face severe federal charges and a lengthy, miserable sentence in a state penitentiary. He places the choice squarely on her shoulders, offering her the illusion of agency while entirely stripping her of any actual power. For Phyllis Summers, a woman whose entire identity is forged in the fires of fierce independence, relentless ambition, and an absolute refusal to submit to anyone, the realization of her complete defeat is a profoundly shattering experience. She is entirely cornered, trapped in a flawlessly constructed cage with the walls rapidly closing in around her. The sheer, suffocating panic of her situation is overwhelming, quickly giving way to an explosive, white-hot rage. Phyllis is infuriated not just by the loss of her company, but by the humiliating, underhanded methodology Victor has employed. The idea that she is being forced into submission by fabricated, artificial evidence is a bitter, toxic pill to swallow. She paces her empty office like a caged, furious animal, her mind racing desperately for a hidden exit, a loophole, a counterattack that simply does not exist. The crushing weight of the ultimatum presses down upon her, forcing her to confront the agonizing reality that her reign is officially over. She must choose between the agonizing death of her professional legacy and the literal loss of her physical freedom, a choice that threatens to completely break her formidable spirit. It is genuinely heartbreaking and profoundly exhausting to witness these beloved characters being pushed to the absolute, terrifying limits of their endurance. We have watched Nick Newman fight so valiantly to build a life of honor, only to see his mind fractured by addiction and his heart shattered by the impending doom of his family, making his desperate, drug-fueled race across the desert a truly tragic spectacle. Similarly, watching a powerhouse like Phyllis Summers, a woman who has survived countless storms through sheer grit and intelligence, be entirely dismantled and cornered by the cold, unfeeling machinery of Victor's corporate wrath evokes a deep sense of sorrow and frustration. These are individuals who have defined resilience for decades, yet they are currently trapped in nightmares from which there seems to be no waking up. The sheer emotional weight of their respective crises, the isolation they feel in their darkest moments, resonates deeply, reminding us of the fragile, precarious nature of the lives they lead. As the dust settles on these monumental developments, we are left staring into the abyss of several terrifying, unanswered questions. Will Nick Newman's chemically altered, reckless drive lead to his own tragic demise before he can ever reach the desolate gas station? Or will he miraculously arrive in time to stop Matt Clark's explosive, sadistic magic trick from incinerating Sharon and Noah? Furthermore, as the corporate walls completely collapse around her, will Phyllis Summers swallow her immense pride and sign away her empire to secure her freedom, or will her fiery, stubborn nature push her to risk a devastating prison sentence just to spite Victor Newman? The stakes have never been higher, the danger has never been more visceral, and the fallout from these explosive decisions will undoubtedly alter the landscape of Genoa City forever.